All right. Good afternoon to those of you on the East Coast. Good morning to those of you on the West Coast. I'm your host, Brandon Troy, host and co-creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. Guys, thanks so much for joining us today. In the middle of the day, for those of you that are here, if you've been checking out the promos, we do have a great guest on tap for us for an upcoming thriller that is making its way over here to the States. So without further ado, I want to introduce the writer and director of the thriller known for Concrete Plans, Mr. Will Jewell. So let me bring him on. Hold on one sec. Hold on, Will.
Hi everyone. Movers and Shakers. It's evening over here in UK, by the way. So just to throw more time confusion in.
There you go. But how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I'm doing great. So the film is released in the US on Friday. So it's all gearing up for that. It's been out in the UK for a couple of months. Got some cracking reviews. It was Hollywood News called it one of the most exciting British thrillers in years. So I'm very happy with that. And we premiered at Fright Fest. And yeah, we've had really, really great response. A lot of people taking to social media to tell us what they thought of the film and how much they liked it. So yeah, couldn't be happier. So I'm really looking forward to you guys seeing it.
Awesome, and I actually have seen it. So, I enjoyed it quite a bit. But with that being said, can you talk a bit about this film and putting it all together?
Yeah, well, I mean, in terms of the story, it is a thriller, but it's got kind of dashes of sort of social realism. It's got dashes of spaghetti western in there a little bit, got tips into horror in a few points. It's kind of quite a few genres put together. Now it's taken about 5 years to get it off the ground and made, just because the realities of getting a low budget film off the ground. But yeah, it's that. I think that process was good because it means I knew the script so well, and the cast we pulled together were just superb. That taking that time meant we just assembled a really great cast and crew. And I think if we'd have gone any earlier, it wouldn't have been the film it is, in a weird way. So yeah, it's been a long trip, but I think very much worth it.
Absolutely. So with that being said, hopping right into the film itself. One thing, and I know many folks have brought this up, but just that idea of digging deep into the title itself, because I feel like internally as well as externally, it says a whole lot. Internally, I feel in terms of like chipping away at the characters themselves and getting at the core of who they are underneath the surface of who they truly are. And then externally, just that idea of the plans that you shape for yourself, or that you foresee is going to be, the goal or the road that you're going to travel is not the road that's traveled, and it actually going sideways. So can you speak to that and kind of the levels that are at play here?
Totally. I mean, the title sort of works on a few different levels. Obviously, I think a lot of the time this film's been developed, so the last sort of 5-6 years, so years in Britain, and we've gone through, it's such a weird, tumultuous time. And I think, America has probably been on a similar path. So there's a lot of uncertainty. We've left the European Union. We've kind of politically, things have been very up in the air. So the whole thing about concrete plans and uncertainty, there is an allusion in it to, you can see from your lovely animation, something fairly horrible happens with a concrete mixer. So it's got a bit of a wink nudge in there as well. And all the characters in it are all trying to, the builders, it's builders doing a job and which goes very wrong and they get ripped off. So the builders are doing this job enduring horrible conditions because the money is their plan is, one's want to retire, one wants to escape, one wants to do this. They've all got plans what they want to do with the money. The person who owns the house is inheriting this house and inheriting a lot of money. They've got big plans what they want to do with it. So it's all very much kind of, yeah, it works on a few different levels.
Definitely, and as you said, it's already been out, and many folks have had a chance to see it back in the UK. But like here in stateside, and I don't want to spoil the ending, but just the idea of kind of subverting expectations in terms of what was expected. Can you talk a little bit to that too? Because there are some seeds that are planted where you're expecting based on a lot of the tropes that you see. That it was like, oh, okay, it's going to go this way. This is going to happen with this relationship, and it didn't happen that way. So can you speak to that?
Yeah, it's got a lot of twists and turns in it. Certainly, it's a tricky one because there are so many twists and turns. I've got to sort of sidestep any spoilers, but yes, we do. It's sort of almost a film of two halves, because the first half, it feels very much it's the kind of working men. These builders basically get taken on to renovate this mansion house halfway up a mountain in Wales, and beautiful scenery. It's sort of nodding towards westerns and things in that way, that these sort of hard-bitten blue collar guys are taken in the middle of nowhere. Tensions kind of form, and there's social tensions because the guy in the house is loaded and he treats them really badly and puts them up in these sort of I guess trailers, but are really stinky and falling apart. The one we shot in was derelict. Basically, we rescued it from a tip, so they were stinky and horrible. So you've got those tensions, and the tensions build and build and build, and it comes to the boiling point in the middle, and then it sort of becomes very much, it's sort of, a lot of my references were 70s thrillers, so it sort of goes off into very much thriller territory, almost nudges into sort of horror territory. So it's very much, a lot of the reviews in the UK are actually going, it's really twisty turny, and people going, I thought I knew it was going, and it didn't go where I thought it was going to. So I was quite pleased about that, because I guess, as a writer, and I teach a bit at a film school as well, so I sort of know film quite well. So whenever you feel, okay, I'm leaning into this trope, but then I want to wrong foot you and take a left turn, so you don't think you think you know where it's going, and it doesn't. So I just wanted to keep people on their toes. And I've seen it. I saw one screening in the cinema before the whole pandemic, and seeing it in one room with like 300 people, and seeing how tense and on edge they were, and just you don't watch the screen when you've made it and edited it. You've seen the film 100 times. You watch people, you watch the audience, and just watching them, like the confusion, or like when there's certain big twists, you see that and you see that realization, and seeing there's a good sort of long periods of the film in the second half when it becomes this vice that people just hardly taking a breath, and so you're watching that, me and my editor were nudging each other going, yep, it's working. So yeah, it's certainly it's a bit of a ride, this film.
I was gonna say for sure, and I feel like that's a great segue into current landscape right now, because I'm always fascinated because it's a moment by moment change, and it's constantly evolving. The current landscape of filmmaking now, and how that looks now. So it's not a secret to you, when it comes to not just filmmaking, but particularly with filmmaking that is not studio heavy, and it's very small in terms of not only the resources, but also in terms of what the, well, I guess that would probably be the best example, just the resources that you're working with, and trying to navigate through that. So can you talk a bit about what that is looking like for you now? Because it's always fascinating with all of my guests, talking about how it's changing moment to moment. And I mean, we're at a different place now that we're starting to see folks get inoculated and that type of thing.
Oh, so you mean sort of the making of low budget film generally, or just the pandemic and everything at the moment?
Well, I'm saying generally, but now under the lens of
Okay.
where we stand now with
Okay. That's cool. Well, in terms of sort of generally raising a film, yeah, even raising money for a low budget film was tricky. We had one fund of kind of fall out just before we were going to shoot, so I ended up remortgaging my house to basically plug that gap, which is, most low budget filmmakers, you bleed for your film. But we also ended up having to shoot this film in 15 days, which was insane, because originally we thought it was going to be 24 and it went down to 18. Then we lost a little bit more money and it went down to 15, which was nuts. We're dropping scenes all over the place, up all night rewriting. And you'll see in the film, there's a beautiful manor house, and we basically lived where we shot. So the manor house you see there is upstairs. It's like 25 crew living. So, and in terms of sort of the pandemic, yeah, that has hit us. Obviously, we finished the film. It was all ready to go beginning of last year. 2020 is the year the film's coming out, and this happened. So, you know, pretty much every film festival we were targeting was cancelled or postponed, or they were scaled right back. Lots of issues with that. And then we were due to release in November over here. We had cinemas booked, and cinemas were shut because we went back into lockdown. So we lost our cinema run. So that was tough. That was a kick in the teeth, because this is a film that needs to be seen in the cinema, ideally. But so we're out digitally. So, which is, you know, it's good. I know it's getting a good audience there. It's out on Amazon and everything over here in Sky. But I guess the difficulty is it's spread across loads of, 9, 10 different digital platforms. So people are watching it at home and on their sofas, as everything has been for a long time, rather than getting that communal experience. And we know it's doing really well and getting an audience, because we see social media people every day are contacting us saying how much they love the film. But you're having to piece together this picture from all these different little we don't even know for another month or so how well it's done in the first quarter, because, it is against all these different platforms, and they all need to do all their sums and then tell us how many people have seen it. So yeah, it's strange. You're a bit in the dark, really, because I guess if you have a cinema run, you get your box office on the Monday, you can see the lines, you can sit in a cinema and you can feel the room. It's immediate, that feedback. So that's the tricky thing.
For sure. And in that same regard, how's that looked with, when it comes to getting products together, just as you were saying, and it's, bleeding for your film, in terms as a writer, as someone who is constantly, generating, new stories and new potential projects. What does that look like in that regard too? Because I mean, you might have instances where perhaps a film was on the cusp of starting production, and now you're on pause, or perhaps now you have all the resources that you expect to have, but again, you're on pause again because you're trying to navigate the policies that are in place, perhaps on location or in other capacities with your ensemble, your crew.
Yeah, I think that's tricky. There are some productions that are kind of ramping up again over here, but like you said, there's so many sort of rules and extra costs, and you have to shoot for longer because you've got less people. I mean, I'm lucky because I'm a writer director, so I can knuckle down, think, okay, I'm going to write. Although, I must admit, when lockdown came, part of me was like, I'm going to get my next script all finished. And I've got a kid. The schools are shut. You're trying to homeschool your kid and remember how to do your maths from when you were his age. Plus, it doesn't really work like that. So I haven't been as productive in lockdown as I'd have hoped, unfortunately. But I've got a few sort of treatments and scripts and things that are getting some nibbles for the next project. So yeah, it's getting there. Yeah.
All right, awesome. With that being said, Will, I want to thank you so much for stopping by and talking about Concrete Plans. Before I let you go, can you tell folks where they can find you?
Absolutely. So the film's released on Friday. It'll be out on all digital platforms. So it'll be out on Amazon, Apple TV, Fandango now, Google Play, Microsoft Movies, PlayStation, Prime Video, Sling TV, Vimeo On Demand, Vudu, AT&T, all of those, Ubiquity. And it was due to be in a few cinemas, which we're getting every day. We're getting new ones added, which a lot of them are virtual cinemas in the foreseeable. But I know in Oregon, Kansas, Ohio, off the top of my head, there's others being added all the time. So there are also virtual cinemas, but it's on pretty much all the digital platforms. And also Paul Hartnell, who's one of the godfathers of EDM, he's from the band Orbital. He did the score, and that gets released next Friday as well on Lakeshore. So it's a brilliant score. I really love what he did with the film. It's great. I mean, they headline Glastonbury over here. They're a pretty big deal. So I was very chuffed to get him to do the score for the film.
Indeed. So again, guys, I want to thank writer-director Will Jewell for hopping on here for Movies and Shakers Unlimited. I'm your host. You can find us on Facebook, which you're watching now, live streamed. However, you can also find us on YouTube, of course, on Twitter at Move and Shake UNLTD, on Instagram at Movers Shakers Unlimited, and of course, you can find me, Brandon Troy ENT on Twitter and Brandon Troy _ENT on Instagram. Be safe out there. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Bye.